Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial of Salesforce Makes Sense. This is Himanshu and we are continuing our Lightning Web Components masterclass. Right? In the previous tutorial, we understood how can you retrieve, deploy and kind of find your metadata information about anything that involves Lightning Web Components. Right? And going further, we'll not just look at the HTML, JS and the meta file, but in this tutorial we are going to understand a bit more about CSS and SVG files. Right now, why is this important? So if I take you to, let's say, I don't know, I'll take you to my website, right? So you see, this is my website right here and looks pretty neat, right? What if this was not the way it is? For example, this spacing right here, right? This purple color showing up, the font, this being highlighted, this being light, right? Or these cards would have been, you know, side by side. It would have not been that neat, right? So what I'm trying to say is any and every kind of styling that you apply on your anything that you do, basically anything that you do is going to make your component stand out a bit more. Okay, so if I were to, let's say, open what do I open? Let's say I take a look at Social Blade, or let's say I'll take a look at random website. I'm not sure. Let's see, random website. Okay, let me just see if I can open this. I don't know what this is, so take me to a use this website please. Okay, that's fine, but what I'm trying to say is that you need to have good kind of spacing, good kind of fonts used. This is not a good font, to be honest, right? But let me look at a better example. So you might have seen, like, you know, YouTube, Facebook, Google, Meta, any and everything that is on the internet, right? For example, Wikipedia, right? It is also kind of well aesthetically designed, right? So if you see how this is shaped up, how there's a Wikipedia tag on the front and then there's a second font being used. There is spacing here, there's spacing here. When you hover, you understand, yeah, I'm hovering over this element. All of this is nothing but CSS, right? Now what is CSS? CSS is nothing but cascading style sheets, which are basically what provide styling to your component, right? So in LWC, there are two things. Before jumping into actual static CSS, there is something called SLDS, right? Which is Lightning Design System, Salesforce Lightning Design System. Now Salesforce has come up with LDS 2, but what we'll try to do is we'll try to look at SLDS 1, which is our base framework, okay, which is called the Lightning Design System for Salesforce, right? So SLDS is what is capable of providing any kind of styling to your components, right? So if I take you to, let's say, component blueprints here, you'll see that you have all of these elements available. Randomly, I'll open a button. Okay, so if I open a button here, you'll see if you want a specific kind of a button, you can take the code from here. Right now, here what happens is, if you want to go and take a button which is white in the text and blue in the color in the background, you have to use a class called SLDS-button, SLDS-button brand. This will ensure that the component looks like this automatically. That is what SLDS helps you with. It is nothing but, you know, packaged CSS for you. You don't have to write the exact CSS that, you know, background color equal to blue, text color equal to white, padding equals to 10px. You don't need to write that. This class is going to take care of handling that. Let's quickly take a look. If I go ahead and copy this right here, and let's go to our VS Code, and I'm going to get rid of all of this, and let's say save, and I'm just going to say click me. Right, so this is the text, but I'm not changing the SLDS classes. Okay, before I put the SLDS classes, let's empty it out. Let's deploy. Hopefully it should deploy fine. Okay, deployed fine. I don't have a class attribute. It does not contain any value. But if I were to now go to my page and my app, so if I go to, what is my app called? LWC Masterclass. So if I open the home tab, let's see what it shows up. It shows click me, but with a gray background, right? And if I were to just simply append my classes, which is from the Salesforce Lightning Design System, and I deploy this right now, you will see magic happening in front of your eyes. Okay, now for a web developer to design this, they have to write code, they have to write the CSS, right? But with SLDS, you get this powerful thing. I think I have to refresh maybe multiple times. Has it deployed? Yes, it has deployed. Let me do a hard reload. Yeah. So you see now how the button has a blue background, the text looks much better, and all the styling has automatically been added. If I were to inspect this element, I'll keep on doing this so that you understand how to inspect and you know how to debug, right? You see, this is the element in the element section. This is the element. I can hover and click on the element. It is showing this is the name of the element. This is called click me, and on this button these are all the styling that is coming up automatically because you are using this class right here. Okay, if we were not, I'm over explaining it, I know, but for some people it will be helpful. Let me get rid of this for now. And the other way to do this is actually use a custom button class. Okay, so I'm going to say my button. Okay, and I'll go to the CSS file, and here to access a class you need a dot operator, and you will say button, open curly braces, and then you will put your actual static CSS, I mean the core fundamental CSS. Okay, font size is equal to, let's say, larger, background color is equal to aqua, and color as in the text color is equal to, let's say, black. Okay, this is the actual styling I'm putting here, and when I say deploy, this is how the CSS file is going to work. All right, instead of using SLDS, I'm using my own custom styling because I don't want this kind of styling. I want a custom styling. So when I refresh this, it should give me the new value. It has not been updated yet. Let's click on this component. You see, it has not been updated yet. So what I have to do is I'll have to refresh and reload this because of the cache. Right, and now if you see, the button has changed. Even this looks good, but not as good as how Salesforce provides, right? But now if you see, the class is called button, and the CSS style is coming from the CSS that I put, right? Which means the makeup is being applied on my component through my CSS file. Okay, so there will always be two options for you. Either you go with something from the SLDS 1 and SLDS 2 library, or you write something of your own. The only problem with writing something of your own is you have to manage it in the future, because Salesforce manages only the classes that they support, right? Anything that you write here is might get redundant. Tomorrow CSS might change the name of the key here. It will not be background color, it will be BG color. So then you have to come to your code and manipulate it. See, it's not going to happen, but what I'm just trying to tell you, there are always advantages of using the standard or the SLDS framework design, because Salesforce manages that from the platform level and you don't have to worry about the styling anymore. Okay, and just by writing these two classes, you are able to get this entire design of writing 5 lines. So why to write those 5 lines? Right? But there will come scenarios where you have to override the Salesforce design system and you have to put your own custom CSS. Then and there you can use the CSS file. Make sense? All right, if I were to just make this brand button to a red warning button, I simply have to use this particular class right here, and I can do that in a simple deploy. I just replace my class. Business has told me that this has to be a red button, and I have to just say I need to do a warning to you. I'll just go ahead and deploy, and the changes will reflect. The color will automatically be red. You don't have to worry about it. All right, I might have to refresh it once or twice for the changes to reflect, because the platform kind of caches the CSS files. Yeah, and now if you see, looks a bit more neat. The red color is automatically come. How do you inspect an element? You click on this icon. This is on Chrome. Yeah, you click on this top left icon. You hover over the element. See, I'm hovering over this window. If I go inside this window, you have a container, then you have a div, then you have a div, then you have main, and all of this stuff. But if you want to go inside a specific element, you go very close to it and you can see this is the div, and inside this div there is a button. So if I click on this button, this will tell me this is the button, and these are the SLDS styling that is applied. See, a lot of it is there, but you can see and read pretty much any and everything. Okay, so that's a bit about CSS, and I am going to just paste this documentation here. The Lightning design system SLDS 2 is relatively new, all right, but what I would want you guys to do is actually look at SLDS 2 as well and 1 as well. So if you see on the button, you will again get those HTML component and codes available here as well. All right, but it is all now coming with, you know, curves. That's the idea from the SLDS 2 design, which is a bit more acceptable. So if I go to develop, I think I should get the code somewhere here, but if it is not available yet here, you can always go back to SLDS 1 and you can take a look at that. Okay, so this component blueprint is nothing but all the base components, right? All the component library base component. You need a date picker, you need a color picker, you need a radio button, you need a card. All of it is available. All right, so let's quickly design a card for ourselves. So this is what a card is like. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go down here and let's look at the code, and I'm just going to pick this up as is. Okay, I don't have to worry about anything, but this is how it is. This is the header, this is the body. I think this is the without the header, with this is with the action. So anything that resonates with your requirement, choose that thing. And you have this panel available here, like what kind of SLDS or what kind of styling are you looking? Do you need a card? Do you need nesting? Do you need a data table inside? Do you need a footer? And all of that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go to the base card structure, right? And I'm going to just take this code and copy it. All right, now let's go back to our code, and I'm going to just say remove this, and I'll just paste it. All right, now when I paste it, I see that there are SVG classes and some SVG references which may or may not work. So let's give it a try. Let's say deploy. All right, this is deployed fine because I think the SVGs are from the standard icon library. So the SVG is also working, but don't worry, it's fine. It's going to look good, hopefully. Let's go ahead and say deploy. Let's go back. Let's say refresh. I'll refresh it twice, maybe thrice. Yeah, so if you notice, just by taking up a code snippet which looks like this, we have been able to successfully actually get that entire thing here with a button, with an icon. I think the icon is not showing up, but yes, the blue background and all of this stuff. Okay, what you can do is you can put an SVG that you want, that you like, right? Similar to how we did in the last tutorial, we can put our own SVG. All right, so what do you notice here? You notice a thing called class. You see how many times it has been referenced, and these classes are all from the SLDS library, meaning they are going to come up with their own kind of styling and own kind of aesthetic looks and feels. That's why you see accounts is here on the left, the new button is on the right, there's a thing here, there's a line here, then you have a button, it is in the center. All of that styling is coming from SLDS1. All right, so HTML is your base, JS is going to be the filling, and CSS is the frosting, SVG is the sprinkle. So if you think of this as a cake, the base is your HTML, JS is going to be the filling, the real deal, and then the frosting is going to be the CSS that makes the cake look good, but it might not be tasty. The frosting might not be tasty, it might not be edible, and then sprinkles on the top, which is SVG. All right, so what we have done is we have tried to add some base level CSS elements to understand better. Let's try to add some SVG elements also. How do we add SVG elements? We can again go to free SVG elements, or let me try and see SLDS SVG. Okay, icons. So what I can do is I can pick up icons. I hope so. I can pick up icons from the SLDS library. So if I go to, okay, let me just go to this lightning design system, and you have icons available here. Let's wait for this to load. But what I'm looking for is basically one example so that I can start replacing it, but it's nowhere here, right? It's nowhere here. So let me just do SVG icon example LWC. All right, so let's just go to SVG resources, or let's look at this. This is on the SVG resource that we looked last time, but what I want to do is I want to directly use it in my HTML this way, right? So what I want to do is, let's see, component SVG icons. Nope, I'm not finding anything that's relevant and helpful that quickly, but let's do this. Let's go back and let's do what we do best. What we are going to do is we are going to use a free SVG icon. Let's open the SVG repo and let's look at account. All right, so let's pick up anything that resonates with account. So let's say maybe this one. I'm going to say download, or let's say open in view page source, and that is going to open the entire thing. I don't want this. I want download. And when I download it, I want to open it. And now I want to take a look at the page source. This will give me the SVG value. Yeah. So I'm going to pick this up, go back to my code for now. Right, and I'm going to, instead of this SVG right here, I'm going to just replace it with mine. right? I'm going to get rid of this XML code. This SVG is what I need, and I'm going to get rid of this, right? And I'm going to use these classes. These classes are from the icon class, right? I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to get rid of the width and the height for now. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Save, get rid of the previous SVG, and then deploy, right? So what I've done is I've used a custom SVG directly in my HTML file. If I now go to Chrome, if I go back to my component, I refresh it maybe more than 2-3 times. Might have to refresh it again. Yeah, so if you notice, the icon is now coming up inside that purple border, right? And that is a custom SVG you have been able to add. Make sense? How did you do it? You simply looked at an SVG and you just put it here, right? How did you do that? By using the SVG tag, and you have pretty much everything in your control. If you want to use a specific icon class, if you want to use any class in the SVG, if you want to give width and height, you can do all of that. It's just that your path should be defined to the right, pointing to the right SVG. All right, let me do one more thing. I'm going to just try out one more time. I want the account icon, which is coming from the lightning icons. Yes, I think this is the one. So it comes from the lightning icon. Yes, this is right here. So I don't want the aura. I want lightning web components. Where do I see web components? Right here. I want the icon. Let's go to I. And here I should be able to see that there are icons available, right? Let's wait for it to load. And if you see that you have some action icons, you have some doc type icons, you have some utility icons, you have some standard icons. Now account, contact, and all of this stuff comes into standard icons. All right, we can look at the documentation, but this is what I want to pick up. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just take a look at the standard account, and instead of using an SVG, I can even use lightning icon. All right, so I'll just get rid of this right now, this SVG. All right, and I'm going to just put my lightning icon code. I'll explain you what's the difference and like where to use what. All right, I'm just going to comment it out, and I'm going to use the standard account icon. This is what we were looking for. Let's say deploy. So this is the lightning icon base component that you can directly use, and it can host a lot of icons available, very similar to SVG, but these are all hosted within the platform, so you don't have to download any kind of path or any kind of source from outside. So it gives you the benefit of using something that's in-house, and see how neat it looks, and it kind of blends in as well. This is the standard account one. If I want to do something like a standard contact, so you can just replace account with contact, and this will do the magic for you. Okay, this also needs to change, but the important part is the name of the icon should be relevant and should be acceptable. Okay, if I refresh this page again, let's refresh it one more time, maybe one more time. It's not reflecting. Let's try again. Yeah, so if you see now, it's contacts, right? What if you want to do some other icon, which is basically nothing but let's see a utility icon similar to what you have here, you know, let's say lightning symbol, right? What you can do is you can actually take that option, and you can go to the utility section and take this icon name. All right, and if you were to go into the documentation, you'll be able to see all the possible options available and all the kind of icons that you can use. All right, what you can also do is you can go to lightning icon library. All right, and this will give you some links. You can go to the icons or the iconography library, and I believe you should be able to see all possible kind of icons that you have. So you see utility, you have the utility icon library. This will give you all the options. See, activity, ad set, add. So anything that interests you, you can just pick up the name and put it in your code. So I'm not sure if SLDS 2 would work, but let's give it a try. So this is animal and nature. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say animal and nature here, and it will not be standard. It is going to be utility because it is coming from the utility library. Let's deploy. Not sure if it would work because I might have to enable the design system to set up in my org. If not, what we'll do is we'll go to iconography from SLDS 1 and we'll try that out, which is this one right here. Okay, this is deployed. Let's give it a test. Let's see if it works or not. If it does not, we'll take a look at this set right here. Yeah. So this is from the current SLDS that we have. You have all these utility icons, different kind of icons. What you can do is you can actually just pick up the name and just go ahead and use it. All right. So you can look at the utility icons and you can, oh, animal and nature is available here. So it should work. Let's go back, refresh maybe once or twice. Yeah, it is showing up, but because of the purple background, it is not visible as such. But yeah, fun. So that's what SVGs are going to do, right? It's not going to be a big thing in when you are developing, because see, the real deal is actually having your JS working well, right? This icons and all of this is fine, but CSS is important. UI UX is important, styling is important. So make sure whatever you do is neat. When I say neat, it is aesthetic, it is not, you know, messed up. So how would you feel if, let's say, I inspect this page and I take a look at this line, and what I do is I get rid of the padding top. See how things will change. All right, I'll get rid of the styling that's coming. See. Yeah, so look at this. If you do something like this, right? This is your main tag, and then you have a sub tag inside or a paragraph inside. Why is the font size bigger than the main tag? It should not be, right? The second thing, you have this aligned here. There is some spacing here. Then why is A starting from here? It should also start from either here or here. Make sense? So these kind of basic styling and basic understanding of how things should look aesthetic is something that you should definitely have in you. Okay, so always don't think that, you know, the solution should work from a JS perspective, but you also try to make it a bit neat. All right, so we'll do a lot of use cases in the tutorials, upcoming tutorials for sure. And everywhere we'll not just, you know, focus on the JS part. We'll not focus on how to handle the client side validation, server side logic, only the logic part. We'll also look at making everything look a bit neat, and that's where we'll keep on learning. Okay, so this is not just one tutorial that I'm doing on CSS. This will continue as in when we progress in our curriculum. All right, and the same with SVGs. I'm not going to use that much. I'm going to use the lightning icon library, because most of the times you are going to use lightning icons at max, you know, something that's standard, but I don't think you would have to require something custom unless you are building something different and something on your own. Okay, not mostly for business. Right, so SVGs are fine. There are different ways of accessing SVGs. I have told you two ways. One is by creating a .svg folder that automatically, you know, helps you to create an icon for your LWC. Second thing is actually adding it directly on your HTML code, right? There is another possible way of doing it, that is by creating it in the JS, importing it in the JS file. But again, like I said, when we do the import commands, I'll give you this explanation. Okay, for now, just this level of understanding is enough. Okay. Now, one final thing, CSS is scoped by default, meaning the changes only apply locally to the component where the styling has been applied. It won't override styles in other LWC or standard Salesforce components. Now, this is a very big game changer for LWC compared to Aura or previous things. Now, what happens is, if you look at this page, right, imagine everything is built with CSV. So if I go here, if I take a look at this span class, this is called SLDS truncate. Right, SLDS truncate has these 4 classes, right? But what if I use the same SLDS truncate class in my component? Will that change the styling of this parent widget as well? No, it will not. It is always going to be inside your component space. The changes that you make, the classes that you use, because see, you might be using the same kind of classes that Salesforce provides that is being used here or here or here or here. Right? So what if you make some changes on your class? Will that impact the entire org? No, it will not. All right. And that's a game changer, because we had that problem in Aura. If you override a class, which is a standard class, it is going to impact all of your components, all the other modules as well. But in LWC, anything that you do on the CSS is scoped by default, meaning it is locally scoped here. And the styling will not go outside this boundary, meaning it will not go outside your bundle showcase component. Anything that you do here, and anything that you do here is all going to restrict itself within the folder boundaries, within the component boundaries. Himanshu, what if I use a same class which is called SLDS button and I do some changes here? You know, the text size should be, text align should be center. Will this impact my SLDS button class that I have used in comp without HTML or in welcome banner? It will not impact. Go ahead and do it. Okay, so that's the meaning of scoping by default, and this is a very good information to have and a very good, maybe probably a advanced interview question on CSS in LWC. Okay, so that's what I wanted to tell you. Cool. So I think that's all I wanted to cover as this particular video. We'll keep on, you know, working on CSS, working on, not on SVG to be honest, working on CSS as and when we build our use case components and anything that we practice, we'll try to put as much as CSS possible. It is going to be less of this CSS, right? And more of standard SLDS CSS. If we are not able to cover or capture anything through standard CSS, then we will come to this file and we'll try to write something on our own. Okay, but yes, it's good to, you know, understand a basic CSS. Like for example, if it's fine, like you can actually just do a Google search. You don't need to be a master of CSS here, but you just need to understand the basics of how to make something look aesthetic, right? So what you can do is you can say CSS basic tags. You can just look at basic tags, right? You can go to any documentation and here you will see, you know, how to make something as a heading, how to make something as a link. All of these options are available here. I'm not telling you to, you know, mug up these classes, mug up the names. Always go to the internet, find what you need, try to write as close as possible to what you need, and it will show up the right examples for you. Okay, cool, great. That's all I wanted to cover as part of this particular tutorial. I will see you in the next one. Bye.